you know, I was going to play Superman. I was going to turn that character upside down along with Tim Burton. And that fell apart for whatever the reasons. So it was actually a better match to be able to introduce to you a superhero that was very personal to me, Ghost Rider. And I love the way he looked.
Oh, that's great.
In April of 2003, Mark Steven Johnson was hired by Columbia Pictures to direct a Ghost Rider movie that they had just acquired from Dimension Films in Turnaround. Marvel had been developing the project since the early 90s, and a script by David S. Goyer almost went into production in 2001, to be directed by Stephen Norrington.
It took us 8 years to get to where we are today, going through many stories, many ideas. And what really made this movie finally come together is the love of the character with Mark Steven Johnson and then Nic Cage.
Nicolas Cage joined the project in 2001 after the other version fell through, as he is a big fan of the character. So much so that he has a Ghost Rider tattoo.
Nick was actually attached to the film before I was. He's been a Ghost Rider fan like me for a long time and has been through very different incarnations of this film. So when I came on board, Nick was already attached, so which I was obviously thrilled about. I mean, Nick is one of my favorite actors, and I think he's maybe the best actor of his generation. He is the best actor of his generation.
But what was the real reason Cage wanted to do the movie?
He's a flaming skull in black leather, so he's cool. He's philosophical, so it automatically makes you think.
Many have hypothesized that Cage doing Ghost Rider was a response to the failure of his Superman project. But I think he did it because he knew he would be able to be as crazy as he wanted. Whatever the reasons may be, with Cage on board and Mark Steven Johnson in the director's chair, Ghost Rider was finally ready to roll.
Action!
I'm the only one who can walk in both worlds. I'm Ghost Rider.
Excited you got when the possibility of doing Ghost Rider came up?
I said, well, I've got to do this. And it was at that time, it was a different group of people, but the right group came together.
After joining as director, Johnson also did a page one rewrite of the script, working together with Cage to develop their own unique take on the character.
Most of us don't chain smoke and drink Jack Daniels out of the bottle. You know, most of us just don't. And Johnny Blaze, Nick decided, wouldn't drink because he'd have nightmares. So what would he do instead? What is his other, vices? And so Nick thought maybe jelly beans would be a good thing. Or
The best thing for me about Mark was how passionate he was about the character and about the whole project, and how much faith he had in it. He would create these previs sequences, storyboard, if you will, of what the movie's going to look like. And I knew then that he was going to have some very exciting sequences.
The script took nearly 2 years to finalize, as the studio forced Johnson to change the main villain after several drafts. He originally wanted to use the Scarecrow, but they were worried audiences would confuse it with the DC character of the same name.
You want my opinion? You need to lighten up.
Cage also had some more notes on the script.
I went on the internet and I saw this chimp doing karate. I'm like, wait a minute, that's really a chimp doing karate, and he's good. And I said, whoa, I gotta show that to Mark, the director. You gotta put that in the movie.
After rewriting and deciding on Blackheart as the villain, Wes Bentley was cast in the role, after he was introduced to Mark Steven Johnson by his friend Colin Farrell, who acted in Johnson's previous film, Daredevil.
Wes is someone I've always wanted to work with since I saw American Beauty, like a lot of directors, I think. And I think he's the best actor of his generation, I really do. When it came to this movie, I knew he was the guy for it.
They also cast Sam Elliott as the caretaker, Eva Mendes as Roxanne, Cage's love interest.
You serious?
And Peter Fonda as Mephistopheles.
The idea of getting Captain America from Easy Rider and flip it so that now he is ultimate evil. I thought it was a fun idea. And to the point when the devil shows up to see Johnny Blaze again, he gives a little look down and says, "Oh, Johnny, nice bike." And it's a fun little in-joke, you know, for the people for the fans of Easy Rider like myself. And we've had a lot of fun with that throughout.
Hi, welcome to Melbourne, Australia, where we're shooting Ghost Rider. Let's go on to the set.
Filming began on February 14th, 2005, in Melbourne, Australia.
We're trying to go for a supernatural Western, which I thought was a really cool idea and something I'd never seen before. So I tried to take the best I could from like the Sergio Leone films of Japan, of Once Upon a Time in the West or Fistful of Dollars, and then combine that with a Hammer film.
Monster movie, yes!
The end of it is like...
Ghost Rider!
Shooting continued in Melbourne for the next 3.5 months. The filmmakers used an incomplete and under construction highway to shoot a traffic jam sequence. They painted fake US street lines and then had to remove all of them after the shoot. They also shot at the Newport Railway, using both the buildings and the rail yard.
I want to kill! I want to kill! I want to kill!
Ghost Rider is more real if you go for that sort of thing, in that he deals between the spiritual and the material.
They used Etihad Stadium, formerly known as the Telstra Dome, to shoot Johnny Blaze's leap of death sequence. Being an Australian football stadium, it had to be modified to look more like an American stadium. All of the helicopters were completely computer generated.
What's really cool about this for me is this is the first scene I ever wrote, almost 2 years ago. This is the introduction. It was page 1, fade in, Johnny Blaze. Later I added in an origin story with him as a boy, but this was always the beginning of the movie for me. And so to see it is really a trip, because it's been a long time coming.
Cage shot multiple segments going down the ramp on a motorcycle, but the crash stunt was performed by stuntman Shay Adams.
That's really cool. Isn't it cool?
The filmmakers also utilized multiple sound stages at Melbourne's Dockland Studios.
Actually, this is the first time this stage has been used for any movie or television. We're the first tenants here.
I do.
And cut! Very nice.
Along with building the saloon set, they also built the entire fictional western town of San Venganza for use as the location of the climactic final battle of the film.
And hit. And cut.
Production continued in downtown Melbourne, utilizing familiar landmarks such as the South Bank Footbridge.
Eddie is Nick's stunt guy, and you can see he's got these LEDs around his neck. When these turn on, they'll shine lights around his body. We'll also have some on the wrist. You look down here, you can see him here. And that'll be the clue for the fire to come in, and they'll digitally replace his head with the skull. Everything Eddie does, any motion he makes, the skull will be exactly the same, so it's a really important job.
Because I wrote the script, I've already been on it for a year and a half, and then shooting it, you know, prep and post and everything is another year, and then all the visual effects and things coming up after that is another year. So it'll be 3 years of my life, you know, and you're just rolling the dice because I'll never see a Ghost Rider, a finished Ghost Rider for a long, long time. This entire movie hinges on that, you know. So we have scenes in this movie where we'll have a digital Ghost Rider and a digital hell cycle going up a digital building, and you know, and you're shooting plates, you know, and that's all you can do at the moment. So there's a lot of waiting and fingernail biting.
This is the kind of thing that you couldn't do even 5 years ago, you know, in a visual effect. We have one shot coming off a rooftop where Ghost Rider smashes through a parapet and goes sailing to the ground. That one shot was a terabyte of information. And to give you an example, Apollo 13, the Ron Howard movie, the entire film was 1 terabyte. So it shows you how much information now is going into these shots. You know, the CGI fire is one of the toughest things there are.
In addition to the complex fire effects, the first transformation scene was particularly complicated. They had to render fire, bone, burning flesh, steam, and smoke on top of a flailing Nic Cage. The digital Ghost Rider skull was modeled based on Cage's real skull.
Smart move.
Yeah, it is a smart move.
Does it look CG?
It does. I mean, it's not terrible, but it does. And I just don't know if we want to.
I think it's, I mean, you know, I'm so used to what CG looks like. I of course recognize it as that, but it's not bad. I mean, I don't think it's terrible.
Is that firewall too orange?
On May 23, 2006, the teaser trailer went live on Apple Trailers. They had to be clever with the editing for the promotional material, as it was against the MPAA rules to show a human head on fire in trailers approved for general audiences. In July of the same year, the cast and crew presented a panel at San Diego Comic-Con to promote the film.
I'm always reading and I'm always listening and taking your criticism and your feedback and your praise, all of it good and bad, and just want to say thanks.
And I felt like I was being born.
They answered audience questions and showed off the Ghost Rider transformation scene for the first time. As February 16, 2007 approached, the main trailer was released, along with multiple TV spots.
If you made a deal to save someone you loved, you will be the Rider for as long as you live.
Something burning?
What would you do? That's right. On February 16th.
The vibe's off, man.
They also released over 20 online video blogs, highlighting various aspects of the production.
Hi, I'm Mark Steven Johnson, and welcome to the Ghost Rider blog. It's been a long time coming for Ghost Rider. I tried to make this 6-7 years ago, and I started writing it about 3 years ago. It was about a year to write it, and a year to prep it, and shoot it, and a year to post it, with all the visual effects.
The marketing continued to ramp up, leading to the film's premiere in New York on February 15, 2007. The cast and crew attended along with other celebrities. Ghost Rider opened in the United States on February 16, 2007, receiving mixed to negative reviews from critics.
This should have been called Cheesy Rider, because every bit of the dialogue was a cheese. Like it was so cheesy. There was never a time when they could have taken a cheesy path and passed on it.
However, the film was a financial success, grossing over $15 million on its opening day and over $50 million over the 4-day President's Day opening weekend, setting a new record. The film was enough of a success that Cage would go on to reprise his role in a sequel in 2012, Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, somehow bringing even more ridiculous Cage antics than in the first movie.
You've developed an acting discipline that you've referred to as nouveau shamanic, is that correct?
Yeah.
What are the core principles?
So what I would do is I'd put on Afro-Caribbean paint, like a white and black paint, and black out my eyes so I look like this sort of Afro-Caribbean voodoo icon. And then I would sew in bits of Egyptian artifacts that were thousands of years old into my costume.
Mark Steven Johnson didn't return for the sequel, and has never returned to anything near Ghost Rider's budget or genre since. Even though he's a bit of an easy target, I think he's an interesting filmmaker, and would like to see him try another big movie again. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that Cage's influence on the film cemented that its legacy would be being known as a Cage movie first, and a Ghost Rider movie second. As a Cage fan, and a defender of this movie, I would still love to see a more focused Ghost Rider movie someday.